we are back. How you doing today? Welcome to the Higher Frequency. I am your host, Mike Booth. Today, I've got a special guest, one of my best friends as a kid. This is Mr. Eddy Burgess. Say hi to the people.
What's up, Mike?
Sorry for this somber. This show is going to be a little dark, and it sucks that we're even having to have this. I would much rather have had better terms on why you were coming out here tonight.
You and me both.
Yeah. My buddy is going through some serious stuff, and I think that the show is at least going to get some people out here. You know, if anybody at the end of the show, if you know anybody that can help him out, please leave it down in the comments. Message me, anything you can. Any and everything will help. Yeah, let's I guess dive right into it. What is happening with him is that the government has decided to basically kidnap your kids
Yeah, pretty much.
and take your rights completely away.
All the way off the birth certificate.
Like you have nothing to, like, you can't even say or do anything for them at all right now. Can you at least bring them gifts or anything
I
like
haven't
that?
even seen them in a year. Over a year.
So I'm going to post some pictures up here right now, and this is you're going to walk us through this, and I would like you to tell me what you. So this is.
Well, that's when they was first born. Then that's in our visitation room. Well, everything else is in a visitation room for the 2 years of their life.
So okay, so what started all of this? Like, why did they take? There's your house.
Yeah, that's my house that they said was completely trashed, and that picture was taken. Those pictures was taken right before court.
So they were saying that house was trashed.
Yes. All the wood floors, that wasn't supposed to be there, and they were covered with trash, is what the CPS worker put in the report.
Obviously, from the pictures, I did not see any trash. I mean, it'll keep cycling through, so throughout the show, you guys can see that these are the babies in question. I mean, that house looks clean to me.
Yeah, they told us we had to get rid of everything that wasn't essential, and we did.
Wasn't essential. You mean?
Yeah, essential.
So okay, so walk me through the first day that this happened. So,
Well, when the babies were born in November 2021, the CPS workers came to the house, said that there was a discretion, pretty much saying there was drugs in Heather's system. Well, we went to court, and there was no drugs in Heather's system. It was a false positive.
and what caused? Elaborate on that. What caused the false positive?
Heather's blood pressure medicine. Not blood pressure, her sugar. Yeah,
So
her diabetic medicine.
Okay, so they tested her. Her enzymes were high because she has diabetic medicine. So when you guys get the false positive, does this happen immediately, or does this take like a couple of days to go through?
Oh, no, it was immediate.
So in the hospital, they came right back and just was like,
Same day.
Same day. Wow.
Within a couple hours.
And this was like while the babies were being born?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
As soon as the babies were born, we were notified that we would not be leaving the hospital with them.
Okay. Now, at this moment, were they saying that they were going to just basically take the babies at this point, or were they saying that you were no longer going to have custody of them?
At that point, they was just saying that they was doing pretty much a wellness check. Mm-hmm. They wanted to see the condition of the house, and we let them see it. They didn't approve, and we had so many months to get it corrected. Mm-hmm. Well, we got everything corrected, but the CPS worker still came to court saying that we didn't do anything, but yet she never came back to our house.
So when you realized for the first time that you weren't going to get your babies back home, what was happening?
Well, we really didn't realize all that until after like a week of them being in the hospital to maybe 2 weeks. The hospital administrator for public relations or something called Heather and said, "Hey, between the hours of 1 and 5, you and the father are not allowed on the premises." And
So at this point, you can't even see your children during visitation hours.
well, they cut the day in half. But the funny part is the CPS worker didn't call us and tell us this.
Mm-hmm.
The hospital people called Heather and told her that. Said she didn't want to see us get in trouble. Which, of course, we're going to raise a fit. Why can't we come in and visit our children?
Right. So at this point, you're worried about your kids. Your kids have been taken away. You are now told what times you can and cannot come down and see them.
At the hospital, yeah.
So when did you know that it was over this false positive? Was that the very same day that they were delivered? You knew that it was over this false positive?
No, we really didn't have no idea what was going on, except for that there was a discrepancy in the test, and that Heather's toxicology report came back positive. And we didn't know exactly what it was over until we went to court. When the very first time, I think it was January 2022, in Mr. Ferguson's courtroom in Cabell County Courthouse System in Huntington, West Virginia. He walked in, the prosecutor was there, and the judge asked the prosecutor, "Well, what's going on here?" And the prosecutor said, "I don't know. There's nothing here. The tests were all good. There's nothing in any illegal limits or anything." The judge said, "Well, then why are we here?" Well, CPS walked in the room and took it from there.
So explain to me what CPS said when they walked in to take it from there. What did they say about the case?
That our house was nasty, pretty much not nasty, but our house was deplorable and not in any kind of living conditions to have children.
And again, we will show the pictures again from that day.
Well, at this point in time, she's never been to my house besides once, and the only thing she did was walk in. And yeah, we didn't mop, we didn't sweep. There was a can of green beans on my kitchen counter, and when we went to court after that, the guard in my Biden said that was a tripping hazard for babies that couldn't even crawl yet.
I have heard some things about, baby proofing a house, but I've never heard anybody say anything about a can of green beans as a tripping hazard on top of a counter.
A counter that's 3.5 foot tall.
Interesting. Okay. So keep going. So walk me through the next couple of weeks. So what's your fight process look like? Did you guys go instantly get a lawyer, or did it take?
The court system gave us a couple of lawyers, and Heather's lawyer was, wow. She was telling the CPS people what to use against us.
So wait a minute. So you got an appointed lawyer.
Yeah, my lawyer didn't do it, but Heather's lawyer, during one of the house visits, one of the 4 house visits, was like, "Well, we need to do this kind of test. Well, what about this?"
Okay, now elaborate. What kind of test were they talking about doing?
For mold.
Oh, so they wanted to do a test for mold for the house.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that test, did they find anything?
They never did the test. I did the test.
Oh, so nobody came through to...
Nobody came to do anything.
Okay.
So I went to Lowe's and I got the test, and I set it in my bathroom. And I followed the instructions on the Petri dish and everything. And I took the findings, the results, to my lawyer.
Right.
And he told me it wasn't necessary. And I was like, well, I'm trying to be thorough here. I want my kids home.
So you're going out of your way. You're buying stuff with your own money to go take these tests. You're setting them up. You're doing all the work to take these tests. And your lawyer says that it's not necessary.
No. That it was not necessary.
So, okay, so
nobody told me to. I did it just to prove there was nothing wrong with my house.
Okay. So that's okay. So at what point did you get? So what I'm trying to get to is, what made you? How do I word this? What was the first steps that you took towards trying to get your kids back? So walk me through that.
Well, the first step was they said the house. So me and Heather cleaned out the house completely. We went and rented a dumpster, 10 by 15 or 7x15. I think it was a 7x15. Set it in the parking lot right next to my house and filled it up because CPS told us what to get rid of, and we did. And even after we did what they said, they never even came back and looked at the house. Like the guardian ad litem asked us to tell him so he can come back and look.
So the guard lied and said that they did go back and look, or that they
would come after I had the house in order.
Okay.
Well, Heather called and told them that everything was done. If they wanted to come look at it, they could.
Right.
They never showed up.
Okay.
Until after the next court hearing.
So let's go to that court hearing. What did the judge say at that court hearing?
Well, let's see. During that court hearing, yet again, they were stating that nothing was done to my house. It was still in shambles, and I had pictures. Judge did not want to see none of the pictures. Saying that we wasn't doing drug tests or intensive outpatient therapy. And the reason we couldn't was because we didn't meet their criteria.
So walk me through that. What was their criteria for you to be able to join this outpatient?
To be on drugs or have some kind of addiction that was detrimental to your health.
So you had to have some kind of drugs in your system in order to even be in this class.
Or just being used them.
Right.
Or have ever used them.
Right. So when they asked you these things and you explained to them, did they give you a blood test?
Yeah, me and Heather was doing day report twice a week for a year and a half.
So what is day report? Explain that.
You go in and pee.
Okay. And what was their findings every time you went in to pee?
Clear.
So you never had a false positive
I had
or anything?
one false positive where it said I had marijuana in my system, and I did not.
Okay.
Because after they sent it to the lab came back and proved that I did not have it in my system.
So is that them going out of their way to say that you had marijuana in your
They
system?
use these little cups you pee in. Then the chemical balance and stuff in your urine tells the cup what possibly could be in your system.
So I'm curious. So are they saying that you did have a positive reaction for marijuana?
Yeah.
Okay. So then did you get that reanalyzed for them to say that it was a false positive, or how does that work?
I went back to the day report place, and I got a copy of the lab reports and took them to my lawyer to prove that the cup was wrong because the CPS worker tried to use the cup and not the lab report.
Okay. So when you took that to your lawyer, what did the report say?
I'm not a technician to be able to read all that, but pretty much I was negative on everything.
So okay. So you didn't have any drugs in your system on anything?
Nothing.
Okay. So where were they getting their information about you having a false?
The cup.
The cup itself, they're saying that it had THC on the cup?
No, the cup read that I had THC in my system. It was a false cup, false positive. Same thing they should have looked at when we was doing.
Okay,
this began.
Yeah. So I'm curious. All right. So what this sounds like to me is that you had somebody trying to set you up from the inside. Is kind of what that sounded like to me. Would you go so far as to say that they were leading this investigation in a weird way? Like, would you say that they were trying to take your kids, or would you
from the beginning?
So more than anything, they were trying to get you separated from your kids.
They already knew they was taking my children.
So what makes you say that they already knew that they were taking your children?
Well, letting the person come into the hospital, calling my therapist after I get into one and saying that I need help with my heroin problem.
Where are they getting this heroin?
I have no idea. I went to ask the CPS supervisor about it. Mm-hmm. I wasn't allowed to speak to the supervisor. The worker came out, and I did lose my cool a little bit. I didn't yell at her, but my voice deepened up, just a little bit. I was like, where do you get off that I've ever used heroin?
Yeah.
I said, I signed a paper for you all to go through every aspect of my medical history. And I repeated this in court, too, that for her to call my therapist and say that I needed help with my heroin addiction when I have never had anything of the sort in my system ever.
And for those of you at home, I've known this guy my whole life. He's never done any of those kind of hard drugs. This is just from a friendly, outpour.
The drugs came because I smoked a joint right after the babies were born. I smoked a joint, and I admitted to smoking a joint.
So when you got your
First paper was for neglect and drug usage.
so for marijuana, which is basically legal everywhere now, that is
That was the basis for them to say my drug problem.
okay. So and that is the only thing you have ever been in your system.
Yeah, and when it went to the Supreme Court about all this, there wasn't nothing in there about me having 2 years worth of clean drug test. And the year and a half of drug test I did at the recovery place.
So and so at this point, what's happening to Heather? What is
Well, they're all saying that she's doctor shopping. And because, she has no spleen, appendix, or gallbladder. She has pancreatitis,
Right.
which you can never get rid of. So with all of her health problems, she was going to the doctor, the ER, because, her stomach was hurting. Anyone who ever had internal stomach pain,
right?
that stuff hurts.
Yeah, my mom's dealing with that same stuff right now.
So she was doing like her doctor said. Her doctor wanted her to go to the hospital when she was hurting. That way, the doctor could book at the lab works and everything to try to help her. Well, CPS declared that doctor shopping.
So
Same.
because she was going to multiple doctors for different
No, multiple ERs. She wasn't making appointments.
okay, multiple ERs. So she only goes to the hospital when it gets to that point,
Like
where
throwing up.
So okay, so that's
Peeing blood. I mean, not peeing blood, but you know what I mean?
yeah,
Pain.
yeah, where it's
Where
unbearable.
Where she's crying, where she's
Right.
in the waiting room for 8 hours and nobody's helping her. Then she finally leaves because it eases up.
Okay, so at this point, they're calling her a drug user because she had a false positive to begin with, right?
Yeah. Oh, after the false positive, we went to court.
Mm-hmm.
We had actual drug tests from Heather's doctors within a day or two of us finding out about the toxicology.
Yeah.
And her family doctor, her doctor, was like, no, that's because of your blood sugar medicine.
So you had proof to say that this is what your doctors were saying.
Yes.
Okay.
And we showed it in court, and that was not in the file nowhere either.
So they completely took that out of the file. For what reason would you assume that they took that out of the file?
Just so they can keep up that it was a positive.
Okay.
After it came up that, after a couple months, they quit saying the false positive. They kept just saying that it was positive. And they never changed their story. Even after I would clean the house, have pictures and everything else. Like the 6-month mark, they took pictures. They came back in like the 9th month mark or 10th. Excuse me, the dates.
Yeah.
But they used the same pictures that they took at the 6-month mark at the next court hearing. Same exact pictures.
So, okay, in the 6-month pictures, how was your house bad? Was there anything?
My house was in order.
So there was no issues at all?
No.
So
they made issues.
So what were they trying to say in court with those pictures? What did they say about the pictures?
That my house smelled like dogs. My floors were bare. That I had subfloors.
But you have actual hardwood floors.
Yeah.
So they were trying to say that your floors were subfloors, but it was you have hardwood floors. It's clearly showing that you have hardwood floors. So
yeah.
All right.
Oh, and don't forget, in those pictures, I had trash all over my floor. My kitchen was so trash that you couldn't see my countertops. Let's see, right. Hold on. There's my kitchen. There's my computer room.
Hardwood floors.
There's my front room as soon as you walk in my house.
Hardwood floors. Okay, so as we go through this, at what point did they start bringing in another family to try to take over your kids?
Within the first couple weeks, not even weeks, like I was saying, as soon as they were born.
Another family was basically given the rights to your children.
2 weeks after they were born, we were told not to come on the property between 1 and 5. And when Heather asked the CPS worker about it, she said, yeah, that's because we got to give the foster family who's going to be looking after your children until this mess is sorted out. They got to bond with your children. Okay, I can somewhat understand that.
No, I cannot at all.
What I can't understand is when they're out of the hospital and we're doing visitations at the DHHR, how can you let that woman ask us for freaking ultrasound pictures so she can make a collage or a book of memories or something?
So I'm blown away on this.
We're not allowed to have no contact.
Okay, so within 2 weeks of your children being born, a foster family is brought in. They take possession of your kids.
Pretty much.
They set a time limit that you can come visit them.
No, CPS did.
Okay, so CPS sets a time limit.
Without even telling us. The hospital had to call and tell us. If we would have showed up, we was going to get arrested.
Make that make sense. How? Why?
Not arrested, but we would have been escorted off the property by the authorities because we were not allowed to be there. But
okay, so because this is with the family's house, right?
No, it's at the hospital.
Oh, is it still at the hospital?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I am completely lost on why they would do this. All right, so after this point, you have a foster family now coming in, trying to basically take over. You're still fighting for your rights.
Yeah.
Now, walk me through, what did CPS do as far as, did they try to offer any help to you at all in any kind of way?
Oh, yeah, they wanted us to move. That our house wasn't good enough, that we raised, well, not raised, but I helped raise 4 other children, which was Heather's family.
Right.
And me and Heather raised my daughter there.
Right.
So 5 kids altogether, 4 females, don't try to use the bathroom, and a male child.
Right.
That was fine for them, but yet all of a sudden,
the twins is not okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, they are giving you basically just the incentive that you need to completely just basically burn all your memories, get rid of this house, get a whole new house, is what they're basically saying to you.
Yeah, that we had to move, that it was not good enough, that it would never be fixed enough to be livable. Livable. After I've been there for 13 years at this point.
Yeah. Oh, Lordy day. Okay, so what I am hearing is that you need a better lawyer is what you're needing. That's first off.
I did at the time. Now it's too late.
Yeah, so now, so walk me through now, how many court dates have you had?
Oh, man. At least 1 or 2 every 3 or 4 months after the first initial 6 month.
So they waited until 6 months had gone by before you had your first court date, or?
Well, we had our preliminary, and that was in January or beginning of February. And then in March or April was when they first came by, looked at the house. Then in June, our improvement period was supposed to be up the house. And I was like, well, it's good. It ain't perfect, but I did everything they asked.
Right.
I repainted every room, fixed the roof, fixed the ceiling in Savannah's room, redid my bathroom. And they came in and was taking pictures of stains on the wall up in the corner of a room to show as evidence that my house wasn't ready or good enough.
So all the while, what I'm asking is, did they offer any help besides telling you that you need to just basically burn your house? Like,
they gave us a list.
Okay, and on that list, what all was on there for you to do? What was the advice that they were trying to tell you that you could do?
Call these places and get a place to live.
So everything revolved around you just basically getting a new place.
Yeah, because at this point, we was in the day report.
Right.
We didn't think that the drug thing was going to be an issue because it's intensive outpatient therapy.
Right.
We went to court with documentation from the therapist stating that we did not. We couldn't do it because we didn't meet the criteria.
Right. Basically, you had no drugs in your system. They would not take you into this program because, again, you were not taking any drugs.
Yeah.
So you had documentation, paperwork that says this you did not meet the criteria to even join into this program.
Yeah.
What was the judge's response to this? Like, I mean,
He didn't care.
at what was his response? Why did he not care? Like, what about his attitude showed that he didn't care? Like, walk me through that. What did he say?
He didn't ask us directly anything or nothing.
Just spoke to your lawyer.
Spoke to the lawyer, and he basically listened to CPS. I spoke up once during all this, during the beginning. They was accusing us of going in and visiting the children smelling like cigarette smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So I raised my hand. I was like, Your Honor, no, that's wrong. We change clothes at the welfare office as soon as we get there with clean clothes to make sure we don't smell like anything.
Yeah.
I was told to be quiet, sit down, or get held in contempt.
Okay. So I mean, I'm not going to say that it's
They kept bringing us back to court to have us improve the house.
so okay, so as far as I'm not going to say that it's I'll never say that it's good to go around a child while smelling like smoke or anything like that. So we'll get past that part. But it's not illegal. There's never been a case that I have ever heard of where a person says, you're a family who smokes a cigarette, so we're going to take your kid. I've never heard of that. So
that was just one of the bad aspects they were trying to show.
okay, so I'm still trying to piece together what incentive they had or reason why they would go out of their way to, like, push you guys out as the family and try to put this new family in.
Oh man, it gets worse than that. In the beginning, when they first started coming to the house and all that,
Mm-hmm.
CPS and all was supposed to contact the next of kin or anybody close to you to try to get to watch your children.
Right.
They did not contact any family members.
Mm-hmm.
My lawyer would not get the CPS worker switched to another one. He wouldn't get the judge switched to another one. I kind of figured it needed to be when the judge would not allow any of my evidence to be submitted or even looked at. He wouldn't even look at it, man. My lawyer said, "Here's the pictures." He said, "I don't really see those. Put those down."
So the judge had no interest of seeing any of the evidence that you had available to.
Nope, they didn't even care that I was doing what I was supposed to because I had an envelope sent to the CPS people and an envelope sent to me.
Mm-hmm.
Same exact copies. Well, the guardian ad litem, let's see, Allison Hudson.
Yeah.
She was the second guardian ad litem. She got on there and said that there was papers in there of dates that she did not receive. And my lawyer said, Mr. Burgess, you just handed this to me out there in the hallway, right? I said, yes. He said, this is the same exact copy of that file that they have, right? I said, yes. So it's proven that the file was untouched for my lawyer.
Right.
The guardian ad litem and CPS are trying to say that that my file had information that they did not. That's a bull-faced lie.
Okay. So did your lawyer stand up at this point and say?
At that point, yeah, he did speak up. I was shocked.
Okay. And then what did the judge say?
Nothing. He moved it on to another aspect. Every time we went to court, dude, we wasn't in there 10, 15 minutes. How is that long enough to decide the future of me and my children?
It's not. Okay, so what did your lawyer say at this point? Like, did he say that it seemed a little fishy that you were getting basically snuffed out of this conversation?
The only thing he could do is petition it in court and blah, blah, blah.
And did he petition it in court?
Not really. He didn't pursue any of the matters that I was actually doing what I was supposed to. He didn't insist the fact that they didn't come actually look at our house, or the fact that, hey, last court hearing, my client brought in pictures and you didn't want to see them. I am willingly submitting these for evidence or whatever they do. He didn't do it. But, all in all, when it comes down to it, when the CPS worker gets on the stand in front of the judge and says, Your Honor, literally gave a little heckle, looked at him, Your Honor, I don't go to their house unless you order me to. Well, how can you say that we've done nothing to improve our house if you haven't been there.
Yeah, that has me. Like I'm kind of blown away at the fact that nobody has really just stepped out into your corner, like tried to like. So out of everything that you've done, it doesn't seem like so you had your lawyer, you had the judge, you had CPS office. All of these people so far seems to have kind of went towards their way, not trying to offer help to you.
Yeah, it wasn't, they didn't offer help. They offered do what we say or lose everything pretty much. And I did what they said, all except for move.
Right, which you don't have the money to be able to buy a new house or to just walk away from your
Well, it
house
was,
that you've had for what 13, 14 years.
yeah, and during the time they was having these programs in Huntington, hey, pay your first month rent. Why should I have to move up all my memories
Right.
and everything just because
It's a
they,
perfectly fine household. I've been to your house.
yeah, just because they didn't like it.
I do not understand.
And it's just a prefix for them to take my children.
Right. So okay. So now, um, so now this other family basically has. Now this other family has control of your kids.
Has since the beginning.
Has since the this is 2 weeks in, right?
Yeah.
All right. So
Well, since they were born.
right. And child support, like CPS, Child Protective Services, has basically cordoned you off to where you can't go and visit the children, right?
Well, up until September of 2023, in August, we we were allowed one last visit last year, and it broke our heart. And that's the last we seen of them. And we was thinking, the Supreme Court's gonna actually take a look at this. Everyone's telling us, even my lawyer, saying, hey, yeah, they're going to dissect every aspect of the case. They'll make a fair hearing. Well, if they would, then the verbal testimony alone, hey, I have nothing against him. I have nothing against his house, but I don't feel comfortable with them coming home to their dad.
Right. So what did you go to did you go to a grand jury or did you go straight to the
My lawyer just applied for an appeal, and it supposedly went to the Supreme Court of West Virginia.
which is more or less the grand jury, which is what I'm imagining.
It's the highest court system in the state.
Right. So that's not the Supreme Court. That's the grand jury or the
It's called the Supreme Court, but it's not the national Supreme Court.
right. Your actual Supreme Court is where this needs to go to. Is what I'm thinking. But
Or if people around here would actually get off their ass and do their job. I mean, anybody can hear me, and of course I'm going to say, well, my
you're
kids.
upset. Your kids have been taken away from you. Of course.
I know in the
ridiculous.
beginning my house was not the cleanest. It was clutter. I had no children.
Right. But I mean, this is like a scary movie. This is like, okay, you're having a child. You're ready for this. You're ready for these babies to be born and to come into your home. And instead of them coming into your home, they are abducted by governmental officials, given to another family, and then every step that you've taken so far to get your children back has been met with, this is not good enough. This is not good enough. This is not good enough.
Yeah, and still being accused of being on drugs.
Meanwhile, the whole time.
The whole time.
And you have passed every single drug test that they've put in front of you.
Everyone. Heather did too. The only thing came up in our drug system test was what she was prescribed from a doctor. I got prescribed Percocets once because my face was hurt, and I took one pill. That was it.
That was from your teeth?
No, it's when I got jumped at my front porch, and the dude broke my upper palate and shattered my nose.
Ooh.
But I didn't want any. The hospital gave me the drug while I was there. But I refused to take any pain medicine after that because I didn't want it to show up in my system. I'd rather live in pain and do what I'm told and have my children come home.
What was that over? What was the fight over?
I opened the front door and somebody said something about supposedly I helped jumped his brother or something, but it wasn't. I stopped a fight,
Yeah.
and it all got twisted around. Much props to the dude for taking up for his brother. But I wasn't the one who hit his brother. I was the one who got the dude off his brother. So he got a little twisted there.
So you got attacked because you basically helped the guy not get beat up,
Yeah,
and then you get beat up because of
by his brother and uncle
wow.
on my front stairs.
Okay. So were the police involved? Did they
Oh
get
yeah,
called?
they came. They took pictures. They laughed at me and left, and never contacted me again.
Wow. So now you're having multiple instances where police officers are just not even wanting to deal with you at all now.
Well, I didn't know the dude's name at the time, so I understand their aspect.
Right.
I live by Markham Terrace, so they're just thinking, oh well, they probably thought I was an argument or something gone bad, but it wasn't. It was just mistaken, not identity, but I guess cause and effect. They had it backwards.
Yeah, because basically where you're at is a bad area. So they're basically just looking at you like as if you were part of the bad element.
I guess so.
Um,
Honestly, I believe they just had people lined up that wanted to adopt children. They had the money to do it, and they used me and Heather to steal our children because we beat them. If one of the court people would have actually took their job seriously
mhm,
and actually listened to the verbal reports,
mhm,
not what was on paper, because on paper you can make anything look bad,
right.
but the actual verbal report, or if they would have put in the paper that hey, we did do what we were told.
Right.
But no, they put in the paper that we didn't do anything. They lied on over half the papers
That
just
is,
so they can have the right to steal our children. If it was all over house and drugs, and in 2 years my house stayed clean and we were never on drugs,
yeah, then that should have been thrown out.
and the lady gets up there and says that she doesn't have drugs, the house, or anything against me, she just didn't feel comfortable with my children coming home to me. Where is her call to see if it's comfortable or not? If my house is safe and my house is safe enough that it's on HUD, which is a government funding housing assistance, which they told us that we needed to get on. We got on it, and it still wasn't good enough.
My point that I'm kind of curious about is where is the accountability for them? Because it needs to be like, okay, so I understand that this is a government official that's coming into your house to conduct these tests, but is there somebody who's like doing an oversight for them to make sure that they're not going overstepping their bounds or
I was thinking that too. And when she accused me of being on heroin and all this,
right? So she can just basically say anything she wants.
I called the supervisor and I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that your worker, Megan Ray, is not doing her job correctly. She's reporting things that are not true." The supervisor laughed over the phone and said, "I don't know what you want me to do. The case is over."
And when was this that you made that call
20 minutes after the court hearing,
of the which court hearing?
2022 in August.
So is this at the beginning of
That's
it, or is
that's
this
the final time they told us we would not that hey, it was over, and we had to appeal it to the Supreme Court.
okay? So this was like midway into your
That was all
spells.
we done.
Oh, okay, so it was at the end of your stuff.
Yeah, so I was just like, I just want to let you know your worker was doing, saying wrong stuff, and I don't think it's fair.
So at any point in time, did you ever speak with?
A supervisor?
Yeah,
Nope.
before this, never had spoke with the
Nope. I was
supervisor.
told by my lawyer not to speak with them unless he was present. And he was never present while they were speaking, besides like two or three times, or, well, two times in an NDT meeting and two times at my house. Other than that, I never spoke to my lawyer unless it was in court. Of course, he was a court appointed lawyer.
Right, that's blowing me away.
Yeah, if someone with an actual ounce of give a shit about the American man or just people in general of what's right and wrong, if someone would actually look over my case,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that they stepped on our civil rights because, in the beginning, the judge said pretty much he was telling us, hey, I'm against you. He goes, just let I take neglect and abuse very seriously. And, if it wasn't for
I mean, as they should. That's
Yeah,
fine. I'm not knocking that. That sounds all
yeah,
well and good. But
it is.
who is supervising this to make sure that that's what's actually happening? Is my point to this. It's like, so if a if a person in the government says one thing and you say another thing,
You're wrong.
you just automatically goes with the person who says it. So where's the oversight? You obviously have all of the evidence. You've taken all of their classes. You've done all of the steps that they've told you to do. Everything has come back negative. That you're doing good,
Yep.
right? So there's no reason that they should still be keeping your kids. At this point, what are they telling you the reason is now?
Neglect and drug usage.
So where are they getting the neglect and drug usage when you're doing all of these? Like, I don't understand
The
that.
neglect was supposed to be the condition of my house.
So that considered and consisted of neglect because your house was
Cluttered.
wow.
When they first came in, I had a couple boxes on the front room table. I mean, you seen it. It was lived
Yeah,
in.
it was
you know.
lived in. It's a
It
house. I
wasn't
mean,
totally neat as it is in those pictures.
Yeah.
Me and Heather, we kept the house looking like that.
it's a lived-in
Because
house. Like, I mean, yeah, I get it, but it's not filthy. I've been to your house. It's not a bad house. There's nothing.
Yeah,
That's,
a couple jackets laying here or
Right.
there. Hey, I just drunk something. I set it on the counter.
right. So that was enough for them to.
Say that my house was deplorable, and it needed to be demolished.
Wow.
Those exact words on paper.
I mean, if you've ever been to Huntington, Huntington needs to be demolished. It's not.
You're not helping my case.
Right. No, I mean, I'm just saying that whole city is awful. So I'm not saying that your house. I've been to your house. Your house is nice.
Ish.
The whole town itself, on the outside, looks like that. It's just the way that the town looks. So for them to come to your house and say that your house was dirty or that your house was not livable, it's really, that's an insult. That's a smack to the face. So okay,
Upon taking your children,
Upon
say
taking
your
your
house
children,
is
right.
nasty.
That's what I'm saying. That's ridiculous. So
And I'm gonna say you're on drugs
so
without proof.
defamation of character,
Well, the only proof they had was I did admit to smoking
a joint.
a joint.
Right. We said that at the
I was
beginning.
admitted, and that was
Right.
the only time I ever tested negative
Right.
for
So it's
anything.
positive.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
positive, yeah.
So you had a positive test for THC, which is pretty much legal
Which
in
was the cup.
and in, you're in West Virginia, so West Virginia is, I think, you guys have legal, right?
Not recreational.
Okay. So at that point, the THC could hold them against you on that
In the
part.
beginning, I can understand that,
Right.
but that was the only time.
Okay. So then you spoke to the drug counseling people. Do they have programs for marijuana?
No.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
So
dude, it was funny when I first walked into Proact on 20th Street and 8th Avenue in Huntington. I was telling them, the woman called another woman up and put her on speakerphone and was like, well, I got a Mr. Eddy Burgess here and he's needing help with something. And she said, well, what's it for? And my therapist said, he needs help with marijuana. The woman busted up laughing. Literally.
these people, oh my God, these people are dealing with
Actual addicts.
actual addicts, people who are dying in the streets over and over and over again, getting Narcaned every 5 seconds. You're coming there because you smoked a joint.
Yeah.
So they're basically just like, why are you here? Basically, is their questions to that.
Yeah.
And so the lady would not allow you to join their program because.
No, because I didn't meet the criteria for intensive outpatient therapy.
And the intensive outpatient therapy, what were the requirements that went with that?
I had to be on some kind of drug usage. I had to have an addiction that could be detrimental to my health or something, heroin,
Right.
opioids, benzoids.
Right. Yeah. Any of those would have did. So marijuana does not count as any of those.
Did not.
And did you have that in writing that you were not allowed to go to this program?
Yeah, I did not meet the criteria.
Right.
Yeah, I had that in writing. Showed it to the judge, and he still allowed it to go in the documentation that we was not doing what we were asked to do.
So it sounds like they just wanted a superficial you doing something that you didn't even need done. So
It's
that's
just something to hold against us.
yeah, the okay. So
Something that we didn't meet the criteria for. That way she could say, hey, they didn't do that. Not.
okay.
And in court, my lawyer even told them, and Heather's lawyer even told them that, they did not meet the criteria for what Miss Megan Ray is
Mhm.
wanting them to do.
So I'm going to say it like this. I'm not 100%. I am not a lawyer. So this advice is just, me talking to my best friend growing up. I'm not going to say anything crazy. You have, as a parent, the right to contest this. I don't care what they say about, oh, it's done. You can't. You have the right to contest this. You can get a new lawyer, and that new lawyer will have to work for you. Now, the funds it's going to cost to get a new lawyer.
Actually, we did contest it, and that's what took it to the Supreme Court.
Okay, so
And my lawyer I had, he pretty much said that, well, we exhausted all the resources we had available. There's nothing else I can do. Every other lawyer we talk to, as soon as they pretty much hear Supreme Court or CPS,
right,
they're done.
they just give up,
Unless we have money.
which is what I'm saying. So
So I get to lose my children because I'm poor. Or I don't have the actual money to pay for their services, like adoption.
see, this terrifies me because this basically says that, okay, so if you are poor and you don't have any money to basically get um an
How
expensive lawyer, then basically your kids are up for grabs. So that means basically any government can basically take your children from you, and unless you can afford a crazy lawyer, good luck getting them back.
it's pretty much, hey, these people just had twins.
Right.
Okay, well let's throw this up there. Okay, they proved that wrong. Okay, well let's throw this up there. Okay, well they keep fixing it, but let's just keep saying it's wrong.
Right.
And the judge didn't care, allowed him to say it, didn't ask for proof or nothing. I bring in proof, and he didn't want to see it. So if I bring in proof to actually prove my innocence of the fact that I did do that was asked of me, it was not good enough. It was not submitted.
Mm-hmm.
So when it went to the Supreme Court, what evidence was there to prove on my behalf?
So what I'm curious on, what was the name of the? My, I have a few questions of my own here. Um, what was the name of the CPS worker?
See, Leandra Harper was the first one who started everything, which was actually my ex-wife's CPS worker, which should have been conflict of interest from the get-go.
Leandra Harper
Yeah, and Megan Ray.
and Megan Ray.
I think I said that correctly.
Yeah, Megan Ray.
I was meaning the Leandra Harper. But the Leandra one who first started it all never came to court or nothing. She's just there on paper.
And who
The-
was the supervisor that you spoke with?
I'm not for sure the name,
Okay.
but it was Megan Ray's supervisor.
Who was the lawyer that you had?
Mike Bailey from not Proctor, the Barboursville, West Virginia.
Mike Bailey.
Yeah, he was talking to me. He's like, "Yeah, man, it seems like we got a good solid ground to win this." And where's my children?
Okay. I'm not going to promise anything because I don't know what I can do or what I can't do. But what I will do is try to call these people and to see if maybe I can get them on the show and maybe they'll do an interview so maybe they can speak about what's going on.
See, William Dawson. He was the first guardian ad litem. He's the one who first came in with
When
Megan.
you say that, Garmin Leiden?
Guardian ad litem.
Guardian Leiden?
Yeah, it's supposed to be the interest of the children.
Okay, Guardian Leiden.
Here you go. It's all written down right here, Mike.
I got you. Guardian Leiden. Huh.
But he went to be a prosecutor on the judge across the hallway from Anderson.
Okay, that's not a good sign right there.
Not Anderson, Ferguson. Yeah, right? Because he was part of doing all the lying, stating that we didn't do nothing in my
Well,
house.
basically, I've met a lot of prosecutors, and a lot of prosecutors will just say whatever they want to say to get their courts basically on their side. And once the courts are on their side, it's very hard to get out of their sights because they basically are the court's interests. So if a prosecutor comes up and says something, normally the whole entire court system will go with the prosecutor because they are. It's like the champion of the courts, basically.
During this case, in the actual courtroom,
Mm-hmm.
the actual prosecutor questioned us less than the guardian ad litem. Guardian ad litem, she was shut down on half the stuff she was saying.
Right.
Hey, no, my house was not dirty.
And speaking of which, did the guardian
See, this is
did they speak to you favorably, or did they
they never spoke to me
ever? So they
one-on-one ever.
So you never had a
It
conversation with
was
them.
always during an NDT meeting, like we're doing now.
Right.
But it was over a phone.
Mm-hmm.
So even during the meetings, they wouldn't even come to our house.
Wow.
Yeah, how can you dictate what goes on to somebody's children when you did not do your job correctly?
Yeah, this doesn't sound right.
The people in the court system, if they would have just went back and actually reviewed the case on the level that they're supposed to give everyone a fair shake.
It's like I can understand if you were a bunch of druggies and you guys were just, if there was some kind of abuse there for the kids, for them to attach on to give your kids to this other family, I could understand that. That would make sense to me. But if you're fighting this hard to get your kids back, it should be in the benefit of the children to go back with their parents, not with some strangers that they don't know. Like that part it's weird to me. Like, I don't understand. As a person who was taken away from my mother, you remember my whole situation with that. So as a person who was taken away from my mother, I think that that's ridiculous to put you with a family that you have no idea of. Just, you ran some random background checks or whatever, and they're good to go. Like, you don't have a clue what this family's about.
I don't even think it's a background check. It was, hey, your check cleared. That's what it was.
Yeah. So, God, man, that's brutal. I'm blown away by this. We are going to have.
I mean, we can sum it all up.
Yeah, we're at 52 minutes right now.
If anyone just would have any kind of
if you have any advice, if you have any help that you can give to my friend here, please put it in the comments. If you know a lawyer that's good at this, basically civil rights, anything to do with children law, please put it in the comments. He really needs help here.
I'm going to lose my children permanently because I don't have the means to actually put in for a reconsideration of the Supreme Court or anything like that, or the fact that the actual national Supreme Court, the highest one in the land, probably won't even hear my case.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm hoping for public opinion,
right,
and hopefully with everyone's help, get my children home. Me and Heather fought for 3 years.
Well, like I said, I'm not going to make any promises, but I'm definitely going to call, and I'm going to see if any of these people would be willing to come onto the show and at least, say the other side.
I can already say that, you can try that, but my actual therapist tried to get a hold of them to find out what was the game plan they was expecting for me.
Right.
I can't speak on Heather's behalf, but nothing was brought up. It was all about medical with her.
Right.
And, you can't take someone's children because they have an upset stomach.
Right. That's ridiculous. That's the part that's blowing me away.
And her condition is for the rest of her life. So hoping and praying to get children, then to have them, then ripped away, but keep them in arm's reach just long enough for you to visit them. Yeah. Never see them on a holiday. To say, hey, you have hope, to dash it all. And for everyone that's supposed to do their job, not.
Yeah, that's a dark moment right there.
I lost my children because they were stolen by CPS.
Coming from that world, like I said, my mom lost custody of me for quite a few years, and my aunt had to basically step in and try to get me back. And yeah, it was a long fight. A woman who was abusive, and there was just some crazy stuff that goes with that. I'm just saying, the children would be safer and better off with their parents. In my book, that's the person who should get the benefit of the doubt.
And just to finish up, in West Virginia, when you're deemed unfit, they strip you from the birth certificate. So you will never have the opportunity to even randomly them just want to meet you because you're their parent.
So I will try my very best to try to see if I can at least get in touch with maybe the governor and see if maybe they can.
Anyone and everyone out there, if you think calling my governor, your governor, any governor, the White House, or anything, if you think it can help me, please do it.
Yeah. God, that's brutal. We're gonna have a part 2 to this. Are you okay to come back on and have a part 2 to this?
Right now, what are they gonna do to me? Take my kids?
Yeah, which they've would Heather be willing to come onto the show? And
that I'm not for sure. I can ask her because this is devastating.
Yeah, it's not something that you want to talk about. I don't know.
This didn't just affect me and Heather. It affected our whole family.
Right.
Our whole way of life, of what we was expecting and hoping.
Yeah, for a life. That's, yeah. God. All right, so right now, my advice to you is to seek another lawyer. One that will work pro bono for something, but
we have been calling.
I know. I'm just saying, this is my advice to you. I would say, write a list of all the lawyers that you've called. Make sure that you put yes or no, that they say yes or no, all the way down until we can figure out which lawyers are willing to work with you and which ones aren't.
We called everyone
that would be my first
Google
step.
Brought up, and none of them's.
Well, like I said, I would.
That's why I'm hoping someone here might have some kind of connection.
That's what we're doing right now. So my suggestion to you, when you get home,
I'm not giving up.
Go down through that list again. Call again. If they say no, write down in a list. Say, hey, look, this is what we've done. We've called this person. They said no. And I want you to write that list out all the way across. I'm going to get in touch with a bunch of people and try to see if I can help out any way that I can. Guys, if you guys are out there listening, please put it in the comments. Any advice that you would give to him, I will make sure that he gets it. Any connections that you might have to a lawyer, to a judge that might understand this case better, anything, please just don't hesitate to share this video and try to see if we can get these babies home.
And remember, I'm in West Virginia.
Yep. Yeah, that's a rough spot, right?
They got to be able to practice there.
Yeah,
please share this with your friends, your family, anybody that you think might be able to help. Please share this video.
All right, with that, we're gonna close this one out, but we're gonna do this again. We're gonna do a part 2 to this. I'm blown away that somebody was able to just do this. This is basically like
child abduction.
It's legal child abduction. This is literally what I was gonna say. I've never had good experiences with.
I thought you were going to say you've never heard of this. I was going to say, yeah, come on, we've all seen the Hallmark channel.
Oh yeah, dude. I was this. Like, this was literally, like I said, I was taken away from my mom for years, and this is the exact same thing that happened then, but little difference in a little ways. But yeah, this is basically legal abduction of children, and I hope that we can get to the bottom of this, and maybe we can find some kind of a happy ending on this.
I just want my children home.
I know.
Me and Heather, that's all we want. I spent all weekend crying my eyes out, trying to think of what to say on this podcast, because I don't want to say something wrong, but I know I did. But, it never hurts just to ask your fellow man for help.
You're telling the truth. There's nothing wrong to say there. Like, you're
the way I'm speaking. I don't know.
Nobody cares about that. That's not
why I'm here.
Yeah, we're worried about the plight of what you're going through, not your grammar and all that. Nobody cares about that. Like, that's not what anybody wants to hear. Nobody wants to hear man loses his kids. You know how many people we hear a day that don't care about their kids or that beat
Right.
them or that hurt them, that do something stupid? You're wanting to be in your children's life. Like that is something that you are physically seeking to do. You're so much further above than it drives me nuts, like
Appreciate it.
yeah, it just that irks me that, we live in a
Everyone,
society that does that. And
everyone I've ever explained this to says the same thing. They don't see how they was able to do it.
I do not see how they were able to do this.
My own lawyer said it, but yet here I am without my children.
Yeah.
My own lawyer, the one that's supposed to get on there and do things to make things happen, that's
Right.
supposed to be on my behalf. Okay, well, good talking to you. It's getting kind of about that minute. So
yeah, so we will have a part 2 to this.
Yes.
For those of you who enjoyed the show, please just leave a message for my man here. He needs help. If you guys know anybody that can come on, that can give him some advice, that anything that might help, please just leave it in the messages. Share this video. Share. Thank you.
I would like it to go viral.
Yeah. We'll see. And with that, we are out. Peace.